Welcome, everybody, back to another BOLDcast One Piece discussion, podcast, etc. Today, we are discussing... Should have done this before. We are discussing... It's echoey as shit. Punk Hazard. Why is it so echoey in here?
I don't know.
One second. That should help a little bit. It did help a little bit.
Yeah.
It did help a little bit. Okay. Yeah, that's way better, actually. Punk Hazard discussion. Questions from patrons.
Yes.
Is there a question to start off with, or you just want to talk about general kind of thoughts and opinions?
I do have a question to start off, but if we wanted to just give like a brief overview first.
10 out of 10.
I really liked Punk Hazard.
Story content wise, it was like one of the best. Villain wise, one like top 5 for villains,
for sure.
For overall villain. And in terms of aura farming, maybe the most
levels.
aura. The most aura, maybe.
Yeah.
Even more than like Marineford.
Yeah.
Maybe.
It's
smaller
hard.
scale.
It's
but
a smaller scale, but like in terms of like just like the when there was some aura farming, it was next level.
Yeah.
You know, like Marineford had a lot, like very consistently, like every 5 seconds was aura farming.
Yeah.
This was like it wasn't all the time, but when it was there, it was like it was peak.
Mm-hmm.
They were the unbeatable harvests on the farm.
Yes.
Yeah, I really liked it, I've been really excited to do the podcast for this because I feel like a lot of times, you know, we're like gearing up for the podcast and it's like, you know, you want to keep it positive, but you still want to go over some of the critiques.
Right.
But for this one, I mean, maybe as we go through, maybe there'll be like some small critiques, but this I think is the first one that I'm going into with like. Well,
not a lot of notes.
Yeah, not a lot of negatives on my mind. Not like, you know, mostly just like, yeah. This was good.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
For the first question is from Damidior, who asked, "You've said that there's a lot of cool and fun episodes in Punk Hazard. Aside from Law's cutting of the mountain, it's this in brackets. It's the standout for a lot of people." What was another standout plot line or scene that you'd have like expanded on or just vibed with? I feel like this is a cool question because I'm trying to think about it, and I think I've thought of my one that was a real standout, but there were a lot to choose from that I liked.
Yeah. Like what?
I think my favorite, like, you know, Law cutting the mountain is like, that's crazy. But my favorite was Luffy versus Monet. And the scene, the way that was directed and the stakes and just Monet as a villain, even though she was a side villain, I still, when I think about it, I think about the moment where she like has him like they're like encased in the ice and she like holds him, and then there's like the weird thing where he's like by himself and like freezing, and it like just something about that, and it was spooky. It was like almost supernatural. This like the ice is like getting him, and there's like nothing he can do. But just something about that.
I think it
was so cool and so different. To
maybe
me.
It plays into like the fact she's a harpy.
Yeah.
Know? Like I feel like that kind of it's playing on that kind of thing, whether intentionally or unintentionally. It works whether Oda was like thinking about, oh, she's like a harpy. I bet he was. But like, yeah, because I feel like that sequence, is to me like the real artistic like direction standout, because it's clear that it was kind of dragged out. Yeah. But again, it's like this arc, you know, although the moments are dragged out, they drag them out in the most creative or vibey ways. That isn't as normal. Yeah. And like for the rest of the show, like a lot of times things are drawn out and it's not as artistic as it was this arc. And we talked about that at length in the episodes, but I 100% agree. That as a standout. They asked like things to be expanded on. I would have liked a little bit more of the Yeti Cool brothers. Yeah. But it's not.
Riding a line because Yeti Cool brothers, that's what I was also thinking about. The Yeti Cool brothers to me is such a great example of like knowing
less is more.
Less is more, and knowing when to abandon a side villain, or not even like necessarily like abandon them, but
when
like
they get their use,
but like they came in, they were called the Yeti Cool Brothers. They were cool Yeti brothers,
and they were brothers,
and they were cool. They had some cool moments, but they didn't stick around long enough to become like bumbling, incompetent guys.
Yeah.
Or just, like, keep trying to make them be cool when it's just, like... It's not working anymore. Yeah. Like, I feel like they stayed the perfect amount of time, and they got taken out, like, you know, like they just kind of got taken out, and I was like, you know, they got taken out.
Mm-hmm.
I think another...
They didn't overstay their welcome.
They didn't overstay their welcome, and I think that was a big aspect of what made this arc really work for me, was, like... people lived up to their expectations, didn't overstay their welcome, and like the plot, like everything was interesting to me. It didn't feel like there was like one element or side story that like just wasn't working. You know, I feel like everything was cool. I think another like standout moment was you know, Momonosuke's reveal as well.
Yes.
Because and it did like the little like switcheroo where you think that he was the other dragon.
Yeah.
And then he's not, and he's in there with Luffy. And then Luffy's like, oh, I'm gonna eat you. And it's like, that's kind of silly, but
yeah,
it was fun. And then when he like kind of like blacked out and like climbed up the steps, like that was cool as well. There was just a lot of good moments. And so one last cool moment, I still think that the Monet, Luffy versus Monet was still like the most to me, just because of the way that it was done. But another really great moment was like Law kind of blackmailing Doflamingo and like putting him in that position, like making him sweat.
The more you bring up, it's like, yeah, I'm remembering all the good moments. And like, I mean, as far as fights, like before all that, because that's like a whole discussion. The Doflamingo shit is so crazy.
Definitely be talking about that like a lot.
Just Luffy showing up to, like, Luffy being a force of nature, almost like a All Might from My Hero Academia, or like a Gojo from Jujutsu Kaisen, almost taking that role in the arc where like everyone, like when Chopper's trying to comfort the kids and comfort Mocha, he's like, our captain is super strong, he's like so badass, like you're gonna be okay. And like the real kind of like peak strong guys were, strong guy was like more Law, because like because the arc is a lot about showing him off, but just like the thing of like, okay, we need to get Luffy to Caesar, like that's the end goal. It's like, you know, you watch Jujutsu Kaisen and everyone's just like, okay, what are we going to do about Gojo? Like, it's kind of the same thing, and it gives him an aura before he even walks into any room. And it's also not, like, as edgy as Jujutsu, which is a good thing in One Piece's case. So, edge in One Piece is great, as we learned, or as we, you know, admire in this arc. But it's, like, Luffy showing up and then just being, like, it's not even a real like, Caesar gets the better of him in certain moments. But it's not like, oh, it's going to be so close. It's like, again, it's like we talk about this a lot in Fishman Island as far as power scaling. Fishman Island was a return after the time skip to give a glimpse of power levels and nerf the crew in ways so that we don't get, there's more to look forward to as far as their power ceilings and stuff like that. We get an idea, and then the same thing kind of happened here a lot with Zoro, like with Tashigi and Zoro versus Monet. And, you know, I joked that he was washed, and I think a lot of people did. But that's not the point. It's, again, we're leading up to how powerful he truly is, and why they got, like, sniped and taken out by the Yeti Cool Brothers. Yeah. Again, it's like Oda's thinking of ways to kind of bury the lead a little bit and keep us guessing, keep us teased. But just, like, power scaling-wise, Luffy showing up and being like, he will destroy Caesar if you know if he doesn't get caught off guard, like, or you know, if the oxygen gets taken out, that was like a surprise. But then it's you know, it's not a question of Luffy. It's just a question of Luffy being unprepared for that, and a question of, it's not like nerfing Luffy or not nerfing Luffy, like nerfing Luffy. It's not a question of that. It's not like making Luffy dumb or, you know, whatever. Not that Oda does that. He's done stuff like that a lot less, like in the last few hundred episodes. Like, it's not like a thing that it's not a pattern Oda is known for at this point, I don't think. But, like, you know, it just feels so satisfying, is my whole point, when he shows up and just fucking cold cocks Caesar in the face. And then the two next times as well, it's a similar story where he just, like, shows up like a force of nature, like an immovable object
Yeah.
or an unstoppable force more like, and just runs through Caesar, and not to downplay how cool and powerful Caesar's power is. All of that still makes a big difference. But Luffy showing up, we know where Luffy stands.
Yeah.
We know how powerful he is. We know that he's earned where he is. And so it feels really good for that to be represented in those encounters. So that to me was super satisfying, where it's like we're not constantly playing this walk back game of, oh, we want to hype Luffy up because he's the main guy and we want him to be badass.
Yeah.
But then he comes up against things that are just inexplicably, more powerful than him. Even though like something like Monet is like they're good at one thing, and you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
and that's the thing with Caesar too. It's like the reason that Caesar versus Luffy ended up being quite an interesting fight was because not only obviously like Caesar is like evil and Luffy is good, and like Caesar doesn't care about anyone and he sabotages all of his crew, and Luffy will like fight to the death to protect the people that he cares about. So they're opposites in that way, but also Luffy is all about like his raw like physical power, and Caesar is all about his like mind and his science experiments, and like he is able to do the little like clapping thing because he is a scientist and he knows about gases and he's able to manipulate them, and he's able to take the oxygen away and catch everyone off guard by that because he does something that is smart, that is completely invisible, that no one can prepare for if they don't know that he can do it.
Yeah.
So he's smart, and he knows his limitations, and he knows that if he gets punched in the face, he's gonna get hurt. He doesn't think that he's like, oh, I'm so strong. Like, I mean, he has that like transformation in the end where he like goes all like giant and like crazy and stuff. In his like final phase, but like he doesn't think that he like, you know, and he does the sword thing for a bit, but it's like he is,
which was cool.
He realizes that what his true strengths are and plays to them, and that's what allows him to compete with Luffy, even though Luffy's raw power is
and even though stronger. Like Oda specifically didn't give Caesar or Monet hockey.
Yes.
Right? I don't think Monet had hockey.
I don't think so.
I don't think so. Because that's why she had to use her power the way that she did against Luffy. It's like if she had hockey, it would be maybe a little bit different. She would have kept her ice picks maybe.
Yeah,
you know?
She could have. Yeah.
Like just that consideration. It's like Caesar's role, Monet's role, the role of the arc is not to, you know, constantly be pushing things further. Because there's a tendency in shonen, you know, to constantly be pushing the boundaries. Every arc needs to, at least in classical shonen, like in a more Dragon Ball Z world. Like since then, it's gotten a little bit more challenging. But you know, I One Piece is the kind of show where, you know, if you go back to me before watching it ever, I would expect like the constant, oh, this arc needs to raise the stakes, this arc needs to raise the stakes. But this arc is a perfect example of you can still raise the stakes, you can still challenge the main characters without completely blowing your power ceilings out and just fucking your power scaling for no reason.
It's because
then the point isn't just to like, oh, who's stronger. It's like it's a narrative tension thing. That's why we care about power scaling. A lot of people, I think, the vibe I get from comments when we talk about power scaling, or when the comments kind of get talking about like Zoro or whatever, it's more about who, like, whether you like the character more, or whether like things like that. It's really a narrative stakes setting thing, and like a story building tension and stuff like that. That's why power scaling matters. Who actually is stronger doesn't really matter if it's not serving the real story, but it is serving the real story. So you know, that's why it's so interesting to think about that kind of thing. So I just want to reiterate that.
Yeah, and I think also what I really like about this arc is in a lot of the fights, it felt like the characters were able to, or like the villain, like depending on the fight, like obviously there are some things like when Zoro was specifically purposely holding back. Yeah. That doesn't really apply to this, but it feels like in a lot of the matchups, characters were given free reign to go 100% all out.
Yeah. Yes. True.
And it didn't feel weird because the matchups were smart. It was almost like Hunter x Hunter fights where it doesn't really matter who's like stronger. In a theoretical situation, it matters this ability interacting with this ability and how those are going to work out in that specific moment. 100%. It doesn't matter that Monet is like so much weaker than Luffy. What matters is that she was able to get him in the right moment with the right thing, and that was the opening that she needed, and she is a master of her own ability. And she knows the environment more. Like, you know, she's it's the same with Caesar.
And they made a big thing with her hanging out with the kids. So then when they're fighting in the biscuit room, it's like you could assume that she knows more about it, and she does because Luffy falls in the pit.
Yeah. And that was kind of part of it too. She's
So
like,
if
oh, like I didn't think you were gonna fall down there, but like, great,
Yeah.
I know what's down there, and I'm not concerned about you anymore.
Exactly.
You know? There's a lot
Caesar,
of.
you're gonna say, sorry?
Oh, and like same thing with Caesar. It's like he's able to go all out. Luffy's able to go all out against him, but it's still a satisfying fight, and it doesn't just end after like one hit because one person is so much stronger than the other. Same with
which can be good, like with Bellamy.
Same with Smoker and Vergo and Law. The fact that Law. And the thing about Law is because he's so strong, he did have to get nerfed by having his heart taken out and Vergo have his heart. But we got to see Smoker go all out.
Yeah.
And there's a question about Smoker that we'll talk about after because I feel like it's interesting. But it's like Smoker was going all out. Vergo, in the end, did go all out. He went like full armament hockey mode.
Yeah.
But Law, once he got unnerfed, his Devil Fruit in that moment... It didn't matter that there was hockey in play because he is so powerful and he has like been waiting for this moment and he, was already planning to cut down this mountain. So like a strong guy being in the room didn't affect his plans. In that moment because he had been training for something so much, like to cut through something so much bigger and so much stronger that, like a guy, like, a guy basically wearing like metal didn't matter when he was already cutting through a mountain and like a billion like metal, bomb proof.
Well, I think the idea is that it's more like depending on your hockey, depending on your strength of spirit, it's like you're maybe stronger than the mountain or stronger than the whole factory, but same shit, like,
It's a very, and maybe it was, and maybe it was Vergo underestimating Law's, drive in that moment, and he thought that Law was just trying to beat him, and he didn't see, like, the bigger picture.
The way I saw it wasn't even underestimating, it's just, like, hockey is about your strength of spirit. It's like Conqueror's hockey works on you if you're weak, and it's not about being weak physically, it's about being... underdeveloped is what it is. It's about it's a sort of manifestation of your development hockey. So that, and I think that's why moments like that are so. It's literally immovable object versus unstoppable force, and Law's the force. It's like you set this thing up where your resolve. It's classic shonen shit. It's like what's powerful about shonen in general. You set up a thing where the resolve makes the difference. And Law is so, he's been beaten down. He's lost to these people before. He's done so much years of planning for this moment. He is so invested emotionally that when they clash using a manifestation of their spirit of armament hockey, Law slices right the fuck through him. And that's why it's really satisfying, is because based on the setup of hockey and the development of it and what we've learned about it, your hockey is only as strong as your spirit is and your morals or your convictions. Not your morals like a good or versus evil sense, but like how convicted you are.
Like your dedication, kind of.
Yeah, so to see Law triumph in that moment isn't just, he cut hard stuff with his sword or with his devil fruit. He is a different kind of guy. Like, he is moving different right now, and he's so... cool, like, because you know that it's a manifestation of his spirit.
This is a little bit off from where we are right now, but it kind of goes back to a little bit of what we were talking about a few minutes ago. Chocoboshi asked, how well do you think Oda handled separating Luffy from the main bad guy in this arc? I think that this is an interesting question because
this is something we talk about every podcast.
Literally every single time in every single arc. There is a moment where, for some reason, not for some reason,
for one reason or another,
Luffy
not for
gets
for some
no, not for some
for
reason.
one reason or another, they have to be separated.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's just how it has to go.
Yeah.
But I do feel like in most
so
other
smooth.
arcs, I felt like and I feel like it's just him getting better at handling it, because there has been arcs where it's like he is literally stuck.
Yeah.
He gets stuck between two buildings, or he gets trapped inside a snake. And there was the moment when he fell in the garbage area with Momonosuke,
and it was like,
movie
before.
Were like, this is literally the same as Skypiea.
Yeah.
Like, I really don't want just like 20 episodes of Luffy like bumbling around amongst some rubble. Oh, I don't know how to get out of here. Mm-hmm. And I was worried about it, and then Momonosuke showed up, and I'm like, no, this is different. This is interesting.
This is character.
This is him and Momonosuke now have to figure this out together, and it's
a perfect setting for flashbacks.
Exactly.
And stuff. Yeah.
Luffy being separated serves the purpose of introducing another character that he is meeting up with for the first time. It's like it makes so much sense. And it's the same way with the crew. Like, I feel like the crew, mm-hmm. Frankie got separated, and like he just like kind of wasn't really included in a lot of it. Mm-hmm. But then he showed up and played a big part at the end, and it's like that's great. I guess it's like if you don't have, I feel like Oda is getting better at recognizing, okay, these people need to not be the focus at this point, or I'm waiting for this dramatic moment, and that means that these two characters cannot come in contact before this. Mm-hmm. And I feel like it's whatever he's doing is working, and it's feeling so much more natural that it makes sense that they're off that way, or they're doing this, or they. I
mean, like think about the last two arcs, Fishman Island and this one, gave reasons for Chopper to have to treat somebody.
Yes.
Like they both. So what he's doing is he's just it's right in front of him, and he's just getting better at doing it, mm-hmm. and thinking about it beforehand, I think, and just getting better at, just clearly planning out, clearly like, okay, what is this person going to be doing? Not like what is this, because then you get into a point where, I feel like I'm saying this the wrong way, because I'm sounding like he's making mistakes all the time, and he's not. That's not what I mean to say. It's just like this arc and the last arc are clear examples of that with Chopper, and there's clear example, and with Nami as well, with last arc mm-hmm. in particular, and in this arc with her like flashbacks with Belmare and stuff.
Yeah.
He is thinking actively about what they're going to be doing and trying to sew people back into the story, mm-hmm. and even Brook is getting his play finally, like with Kinemon. Mm-hmm. And by the way, not only that's a huge thing. Not only did he separate everybody supernaturally, mm-hmm. At the start of the arc, okay, who's going? Draw straws. Perfect rationalization. Yeah. Why not? That's perfect. And not everyone needs to go. That's okay. Everybody, mm-hmm. we trust, the people in our crew. And that splits them up initially, and then you can show multiple perspectives, and then people need to get split up again, et cetera, and then they mm-hmm. can come back together and switch, places in the group. Not only did he do that well this arc, but he also introduced another, he's not a Straw Hat, but a temporary, an arc-specific guy that we follow around that isn't joining the mm-hmm. crew, I think.
Yeah.
Because he's got his son. But, it's the same setup with when we met Brook. Mm-hmm. Except Brook joined, but this guy's not joining. So you basically are adding another cast mm-hmm. member, making it even harder for yourself, and Law, and Smoker and Tashigi.
Yes. So many,
and it still felt natural.
Yes,
it still had the scale
as crowded as other arcs have with less people.
Yeah, because there were multiple points of interest that felt like there was something to explore mm-hmm. there, not just one destination where we're all going to have to go, and then some people get sidetracked. It's like mm-hmm. there's things that we need to do, and and there's multiple side quest kind of things with Kinemon's different body parts, mm-hmm. and trying to just find his son. It's like he's concerned with that. And that's what he's going to do. Yeah. So we, and there's no reason not to go with him, because Luffy's going to be okay. So let's just go with him, and then we'll figure it out as we go along. Mm-hmm. And it's not just for narrative convenience. There's things set up to make it natural that people split up, and mm-hmm. natural that they come back together.
Yes.
And so it's not just that he did it well, because he's done it well before. It's not the first time Oda has succeeded mm-hmm. at this. But it's been a problem that we've literally talked about since the beginning. Since, I think, around to the time, Robin got added, I started to say, I don't know if we keep getting people, it's going to get difficult to give people their due. But he didn't just do that. He made it harder for himself, and it's that on top of all the Doflamingo shit, and cutting away from the island. There was so much going on this arc that it's almost insane mm-hmm. when you really think about how much we're jumping around. And so much focus on the villain's perspective. Yes. So much focus on what Caesar was doing mm-hmm. and Law, as a point of view.
Yeah.
Constantly switching to them. It's actually insane when you really break down the balls that Oda was juggling this arc. It's like, it's really impressive because it all worked out, and it all was like the most intriguing like political shit going on, and like introducing a lot of stuff about the black market and like the underground, all that stuff, so much, also, and reconnecting with Kid and their alliance. Like, there's so much to think about with this arc.
And even like keeping with like, there's this like theme going on of like this like betrayal theme that like, because we talked a lot about like part of what made Fishman Island really good, and like it landed and didn't land at different times, like, better or worse. But like the theming of Fishman Island was really, really strong and really good, and it's like, that's what, you know, maybe if you did this or that, the story could have like been better, but it wouldn't be on the theme that he picked and wanted to explore. I feel like this one, you know, there was like the theme of like everyone was like betraying other people, but at the same time there was other alliances forming. You know, we have people like Caesar betraying all of his men, Brownbeard like becoming like feeling the betrayal by Caesar, but then like doubling down and being super loyal to his crew. We have Law and Luffy deciding to put trust in each other to accomplish a common goal. You know, there's just a lot of stuff. Vergo betraying Tashigi and Smoker. Like, you know, there's lots of stuff going on. And then Law betraying Doflamingo, who, you know, he thought Doflamingo seemingly trusted Law to an extent. So it's like there
like,
there
to
was
a great
all
extent. He really thought highly of him.
There was all of these betrayals and like burning of bridges, but then also like creating new things. So like that seems to be like,
and Law, you know, like, there's probably questions about Law.
There are.
Okay.
Should we get into that maybe? Yeah.
Oh boy, yeah, we really should. We got like an hour left or so.
Yeah. Let me see here. Okay. This is a simple one to start off, but there's a couple more. Ty asked, how do you feel about Law and how he is reintroduced to the story?
10 out of 10.
I feel like
10 out of 10.
So good. It was unexpected.
Yeah.
I was not expecting him to see him so soon.
Just he's alone.
The first place that we go, basically. Oh, there he is.
And he's alone.
There's no crew, because the part of what was so iconic was his crew. And you know, so the way that he was introduced created so much mystery, and you're like, what's his plan?
Yeah, because, him showing up to Marineford to save Luffy, it's like, what the hell is that about? Like, he went to such lengths for Luffy and then just disappeared for 2 years, and now he's here as a warlord.
Well, and
like,
that was not the only thing, is he said specifically, I'm not going to go in for 2 years, but then he had been in Punk Hazard, which is in the Grand Line for like seemingly a while, for like a while. So it's like he clearly, something happened to throw off his plan of like waiting.
Yeah. And then there was like the incident, I forget the name of the incident, because they said like, oh, he delivered this many hearts, and then later they named it as like a incident. Yeah. That he like got these, was it 100 or fucking 600 hearts? I forget how many it was. It was a shitload of like criminal hearts. But like, yeah, and just like, and that aspect of now he's taking people's hearts out. And him versus like Smoker.
Helping all of these, when we see him versus Smoker, and it's like, oh shit, because it's like, Smoker is obviously like, he's part of the Marines, he's our enemy, but he's like, you really like him, and you want to see him, and you're kind of rooting for him in his own way, even when he's against like Luffy, you're kind of like, oh man, he's so sick, you know, you really like him. So to see him just get decimated by Law, it's like, damn.
Yeah, and just him opening the door and just being there, it's like, wait a minute, like, like, as far as an introduction, literal 10 out of 10. Like, you don't get much better than that, because so much set up beforehand, and he feels so loaded. Like, he feels very, like, when we learn things about his backstory, it's gonna feel so, like, foreshadowed and telegraphed without being obvious. Like, I was constantly thinking that, like, oh my god, his crew's dead, or his crew's captured by Doflamingo or something like that, but it seems like that's not quite the case. Maybe, like, we don't 100% know.
We still don't know, but there's something going, we know there's something going on.
There's gonna be some big drops, and I'm super excited for it, because it feels like you can really tell when you look at a character how much of them is cooked and how much of them is cooking. in Oda's head. Like, not you. It's hard to tell every single time, but like when you see Doflamingo kill Bellamy or whatever, like make him kill himself.
Yeah.
In like episode 150 something, or it was later than that, 2 something early, when they got back from Skypiea, it's like, you know, there's a lot going on behind the scenes, and then the more we get, the more it feels like it wasn't just invented. Like it really feels like this has been something that's been on the back burner waiting to come up. And that's how Law feels, and that's how all this shit feels. It feels like it's like all this has been waiting to emerge, not just like showing up because it would be
a cool guy showing up.
That's the best feeling in One Piece and in other shows, is when you know that this isn't just they're not just like dangling the keys in front of you, like trying to keep your attention kind of desperately. There's a lot of shows that are like that, and you can really tell, and you can tell when it's not like that, and this is not like that.
Still about
Makes it very
Law.
compelling.
Matt asked, why do you think Law is so hot and dreamy? I mean, why do you think Law has such a fascination with Luffy? He keeps showing up and helping Luffy in multiple arcs.
He's got to know about Joy Boy shit. He's got to know about that.
I feel like there's, like, yeah, it's like he knows about something.
He knows about the Emperors, Shanks Emperor, Straw Hat Shanks, Straw Hat Roger. Yeah. He knows about this shit. Maybe he was taught by fucking what's his name, Crocus, the doctor on that. I don't even. Is it confirmed? Oh. Crocus, was that confirmed?
Was that confirmed?
For some reason, I thought it was like we saw a picture or in a flashback or something. Am I crazy? I feel like that was confirmed. If it wasn't confirmed, I still believe it. I don't care.
Yeah.
Because it's just too perfectly set up. No, I'm pretty sure it was confirmed.
I think it was confirmed.
Anyway, maybe Law learned from him or something, like, because he's a surgeon, right? Maybe there's some connection that he has directly to Roger, or maybe even a previous Straw Hat or something like that, or something. I don't know. There is something going on with him where he knows that shit. Why would you show up to Marineford in your yellow submarine? You put Beppo in that danger just for Luffy? It doesn't make any sense. He doesn't know Luffy that well. He seems very familiar with him. Yeah. Like he treats him like a good friend, like that, like a really good friend that like maybe they knew when they were like little kids, is how he kind of treats him, or like a brother.
I feel like he also, and like maybe part of what, like, I think there's definitely like all of that stuff kind of going on, but I think that there's also like, we see Law, and like from what we see of Law, he's like very tired, like he's got the bags under his eyes. It's like everything is like he's in a way kind of an opposite to Luffy, of like he's like kind of like edgelord, like a Shikamaru kind of guy to Luffy's Naruto, where it's like they aren't like that, but there's a quality in this person that they are like drawn to, even though like he like cringes when Luffy is like doing like all of his like let's do this, or like we're like besties now, and Law's like like, I don't know about that, but he kind of likes it. I think, like, it's like there's something about Luffy's personality that I think is, like, very, like, inviting and magnetic, and there's something about it that I think, in a way, and maybe it's, like,
maybe I'm
like,
overthinking it, it's that simple.
Well, it could be that, but I think there is also, like, that kind of, like, he feels drawn to him for a reason, and maybe that there's things that he can learn from Luffy that will help him grow as a person, and loosen up a little bit, or like, I don't know. It's like they're two.
Or maybe he just knows. He maybe is somebody from his backstory that he knew that died, that was a lot like Luffy, or said something really similar that he kind of latched onto. Like brought that. Maybe somebody was taken from him that like brought him that same kind of light.
Or maybe he used to be like that. Maybe he wanted to be a doctor in like a. I want to help people. I want, like, in the way that Chopper kind of wants to be a doctor, of like this like very like optimistic, like a little bit naive, like childlike way, and then things just happen to him, and then he's like kind of has to like hide his emotions or harden himself, and he gets this kind of pessimistic outlook on life. Yeah. And he like gets hardened to be able to do the things that he needs to be able to do. But maybe he, like, he's not used to having this, like, bubbly, like, erratic personality with him. Yeah. But, you know, maybe it's something that he kind of subconsciously is, like, drawn to, you know?
Yeah, maybe it could be that simple, and honestly, that is more interesting to me than all of the lore stuff.
Mm-hmm. Like, if it's
just purely emotional, and that's kind of like Oda's style, like that. Yeah. You know, he kind of is just drawn to him as a person. It's good shipping bait. I'll still give you that. And honestly, like, it does, especially honestly after kind of reading the cover stories. It's such a small thing, but I feel a lot more. Like, that feels more like you know what I mean?
Yeah, like, because there's all these things with lore and all of these complicated relationships that Law has with all of these other people. And, you know, maybe there's something more going on with why he's interested in Luffy. Or maybe it's just, like, because Luffy has, like, this kind of, like, the will of D, this, like, this, like, aura. Force that he's, like, so powerful in the way that he moves the people around him, and that's, like, you know, it's like they're pirates and they go to a village and then they end up saving the people, like, kind of by accident sometimes. And then it's like people are like, oh, he's a pirate, or it's like the Marines. It's like the Marine guys literally in this arc. Yeah. They're like, fuck you, we hate you. They're, like, putting up signs so they can't look at them, but it's because they're, like, coping so hard because the Straw Hats are just so likable that they have to, like, pretend with all of their might not to like them because there is just something about them that they can't help but recognize is special, you know?
Yeah.
I think it could be either, and I would be happy.
I would be happier with your interpretation. I would be happier with that. I could be happier either way, but I would be happier with that.
Okay, this is kind of interesting. It's still a little bit about Law, but also a little bit about Doflamingo here. Red Division said, here's a simple one. At the end of the arc, Doflamingo is given the option to be hunted by the Marines/Admirals or an Emperor, his crew by Law. So, in Doflamingo's shoes, which option would you guys choose? And in addition, in general...
An Emperor, his crew by Law. What?
Like an Emperor / his crew. So, like, Kaido.
You didn't say slash.
Oh, sorry. I should have said by the Marine/Admiral or Emperor / his crew.
Which would you choose?
And in addition, who do you think should be stronger? An Admiral or an Emperor?
Yeah. I don't know. It would depend who the next Admiral is. Oh, watch it be Smoker. Could you fucking
Well, Smoker
imagine?
just got his ass kicked. There's a I want to talk about that a little bit later, but he might be due for a bit of a training arc.
We postulated that a little bit. I don't know. Like, I mean, we don't know much. I feel like emperors must be more powerful because if the emperors exist, their very existence alongside the admirals proves that they are completely different.
Yeah, because we know that
they could.
We know the admirals are higher than warlords because it's like but the warlords are still strong enough to be a bit of a problem.
And it depends on the one.
And it depends on the one.
Like Mihawk could probably be almost. I mean, you know, he was a kind of rival of Shanks. So.
Yeah, and but the thing is, like, Shanks, one emperor, showed up to Marineford. There was. All of the admirals were there. Sengoku was there. Everyone was there. All the war, and he stopped it. And whether that's just out of the respect that they have from him, or his power level, which is unknown to us. We haven't seen him do anything too crazy. Yeah. We haven't seen him, pretty much do anything. But we know that his presence was enough to stop a war in its tracks.
Yeah.
But we also did see that Aokiji versus Akainu has 2 years later created lasting environmental effects that aren't going anywhere on an island that was just a place before. So we know...
Well, that was nuked before, but yeah.
Yeah, but it was still, it didn't have all these weird weather conditions on it. So we know that the power level is ridiculously high either way. So, but I feel like it's still hard to say because you never know...
Depends on the circumstances, yeah.
Yeah. and also, what their driving motivation is at the end of the day, because we know that that's important.
That's a huge deal. Yeah, how hard they fight depends on what they're fighting for. That's like a common.
And there's like someone like Blackbeard who's now an emperor, and he's a complete wild card. So even, you could think like, okay, Akainu could maybe take him, but it's like he's so unknown, and we don't know at this point like what level of mastery he has over his abilities. We don't know what he's doing. We've seen Big Mom, like it seems like super creepy. I don't know what she's doing in terms of like her like power, like all we know is she like eats candy and sometimes eats people, and we know that Kaido is like creating this like artificial Zoan army.
Yeah.
But it's there, I feel like there's so much like setup, and I'm like, it's all like kind of unknown, and I think depending on the situation or like who it's up against could kind of change it.
Yeah,
but there is a reason that the emperors are kind of running free and doing whatever they want.
Yeah, like if all it took was 3 admirals to show up, because it's not just, the thing is that, like we learned this in Marineford, it's not just the emperor, it's their crew.
Yes.
And that's obviously a big part of One Piece. It's not just Luffy, it's Luffy and Zoro coming for your ass, etc. And when we see, I guess his name's Ben Beckman, his Shanks's first mate, like pull a hockey gun on Kizaru, and Kizaru, the literal light speed Logia devil fruit user, puts up his hands in surrender. Like, that tells you all you need to know right there. He's not even technically an emperor, but he's on that kind of level.
Yeah.
So yeah, but what was the full question?
I guess the full question was,
what would you do? I guess I would rather be enemies with the Navy, which is what Doflamingo chose.
Yeah. I think the same too, because it's like, and I think that's part of it, is like, we know a lot about the Navy. We know a lot. There's still a lot of things that we don't know, but there's a lot of things that we do know about them. But at the same time, I think this is telling us something, is Doflamingo knows a lot about Kaido, because he's been working with him. So that, in our minds, if he's more, we know that the admirals are scary, and it's kind of like the enemy you know versus the enemy you don't know. But for Doflamingo, I believe that it is both of the enemies that he knows, so I think, he's scaling like Kaido as being more dangerous towards him,
which is extremely exciting.
I agree. Okay, Sanji Joestar asked, this arc explores a lot about scientific elements of the One Piece world. What were your takeaways from it, and what implications do you think they'll have for the future of the story?
Wow, did it ever give us those implications? I mean, devil fruits, artificial devil fruits. How
devil fruits respawn.
And by the way, why is it imperfect? What does that mean? The smiles, like,
I wonder if that just means, like, I think part of it
temporary.
I think part of it means that they can't respawn in the same way because they're not like a true fruit. Right. Was what we kind of theorized before. Right. There may be other aspects to it as well.
Yeah, but that's not that big of a deal, is it? Like, that doesn't. No, that's honestly kind of better, because then you're not going to get hunted for your devil fruit by a psycho like Blackbeard. In terms
of a scientist, if you're creating something, that would be scientifically an imperfect replication of what you're trying to achieve. So yeah, I'm not sure if it's imperfect as in like, there is a downside to the user, or imperfect as in this is a master scientist that is trying to attain a goal that may be unachievable.
So we got a little bit, in keeping with that, there's a lot about it that we can imply. So here's the thing. So Vegapunk made all the real breakthroughs, right?
Yes.
And Vegapunk, we know, like, his character comes into play. We know he has morals and there's lines he won't cross. Therefore, if it say costed severe torture of animals to create an artificial Zoan fruit, as if you're like taking their soul.
Yeah.
Would he do that? Like, would he continue to refine that? Like, would the guy that we are being introduced to, like, based on what we are finding out, which is more that he is a moral person, would he cause immense suffering for like the scientific advancement. We don't really know,
and
but also the type of story we're in. You know, I imagine one day we're gonna meet Vegapunk or learn about him if he's still alive. I think he is.
Yeah. Well, they were taking the kids to Vegapunk.
Yeah, and the pacifistas and stuff. So if we meet him eventually. You know, what's that going to be like? They're not really setting up a villain with him. Like, if they were setting up a villain with Vegapunk, then I'd be like, okay, anything's on the table. But we know that there's lines he won't cross. He won't make children suffer.
And, you know, whether it's, like, there's animals and people, like, we don't know his standpoint on that.
Right, but we can kind of... My point is we can get a lot of context about the science of these things that he made based on what he wouldn't do and therefore how harmful they were or what it might take. So it wouldn't take, you know, it's not a philosopher's stone, for example. At least the smiles aren't. Maybe the real devil fruits are. Something like that. But, like, you see what I'm saying? So I don't know. You can't really find all the scientific implications. But if for anybody who didn't watch our filler reactions to the couple filler episodes, I had the crazy breakthrough that... fruits could respawn as the tangerines on Nami's trees on the ship. There was a Patreon comment that's like, oh, Carson always stumbles on like the craziest, you know, fan favorite theories or whatever on accident. And so I'm clearly, and I didn't expect to be the first person to think of that because it's too obvious, but it's so obvious and interesting that like, I guess that's kind of a scientific implication now that we know how devil fruits respawn to a degree.
There was also this.
It would just be so narratively interesting if you didn't watch the filler reaction. I was saying that say Luffy dies at the end because he's constantly like shortening his lifespan or whatever with all of his stuff. Everything he does for a while was like taking years off his life. He's going to continue to do it. And he's like kind of following in Roger's footsteps, who died early, and like maybe Luffy will die, and then on the tangerine tree, his fruit will like bloom again as the rest of the crew like sails off into the sunset, or whoever else is still on the crew, or maybe they all die or something, or they all split to the four winds and the Sunny just sails off, and then there's the devil fruit kind of hanging from it alone. And I think that would be just a sick final panel of One Piece, or one of the final panels. Like that would just be such a good image, and it's the kind of thing that Oda must have been thinking about. Anyway, I just wanted to recap that theory because I had like a crazy lightning bolt moment when we were reacting to the filler, which I imagine not a lot of people are going to check out. But anyway.
Yeah, and this is what I remembered like a couple weeks ago that I told you about that I want to talk about.
Right.
And you might have already even thought of this also because it's kind of obvious now. But I was thinking about the respawning of devil fruits, and we were debating like how well is it known. Clearly not that well known, but some people definitely know about it. And I was thinking like this has to be in Alabasta. They must know about it because they were
the two
and because we were kind of like, okay, like awfully convenient that these guys have the devil fruits that are like of their like kind
and
of
there's like statues of this these devil fruit users,
and it was kind of like, okay, like
and
that
it's an office that you inherit. We at the time we'd been thinking like, okay, like, you know, Oda's just like drawing these for like the theming, and then these guys have the devil fruits, and maybe
then,
he was,
but I don't think so. I don't think
so.
I think this is and because of the fact that there was like a poneglyph there, and it's clearly like a very like historically relevant site that. And I literally like thought of this like just like randomly, like I was actually I think I was thinking about how like lately we've been talking about like when fucking Pell lived, and then I think I just had Pell on my mind, and it was like shortly after
in the cover story.
This was like a couple weeks ago. That I had thought of this just randomly, but like I just thought like that makes sense. They must keep it like locked down because you wouldn't want people to know about it. But it's the kind of thing in a place like that they, you know, would be able to keep this like secret of like these people like inherit this position and serve for their entire lives.
And by the way, a desert country where there's not a lot of fruit. There's probably not a lot
of fruit. They probably keep some in the palace.
Yeah.
Or, you know, wherever to try and hopefully, be able to like keep this going. And clearly, they've been able to like maintain hold of these devil fruits back to back to back
for potentially hundreds of years.
Yeah.
Wow. Good catch. I feel like that's the answer.
Yeah, there's even if it somehow wasn't at the time, which I think that it was because
I think it was,
seeing all of everything that's happening now.
And I mean with the tangerine, like thinking about that, like the fact that he probably did added the tangerines and made that a big deal, probably knowing at least some version of how the devil fruits would work in this way. That was way obviously like earlier than Alabasta, so it tracks that he would probably have this in his head, just waiting for the right time to reveal it. Yeah, and I think that's just kind of an interesting thing. I'm glad I remember to talk about it because I had thought of it and then I was like, oh, in the next episode I'll talk about it, and then I forgot again. But I feel like that's just a cool thing to think back on. It is, and maybe separately, thinking of like previous times where like how devil fruit users just in the background, the like evolved Zoans or whatever they were in Impel Down.
Yeah, awakened Zoans.
Awakens, yeah. If this is a pirate prison where, pirates who have devil fruits go there to die or be executed, then you just take their fruits and then feed them to guards or, whatever. Those guys seemed like they were like gimps or something, so I don't know what the deal was there. But like maybe that's how they got the fruits for those people who were like guards or whatever. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that is an interesting thing to think about.
And what about the blue gory? Maybe they were smiles. The blue gory, they're those like monsters who like flying around.
Yeah, I kind of forgot about those.
Maybe those were smile fruit things, like
they
the
were
dragons.
All like the same.
Or something, yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of...
Because the Vegapunk did that, right? He was working for the government. They needed those soldiers, maybe, Hey.
Yeah, I don't know. Some interesting
scientific implications. There's way more than that. We even talk about the fucking giantification things. I honestly don't even know if we have enough lore to go on for that. We have like the ores shit that maybe ores was created
and we also in this way
or something.
Here's where it might come down
they were trying to recreate the power of ores, maybe from this ancient war. I don't know.
Here's the other thing about that too, is like when we talk about like how do you get the artificial devil fruits? If it is by like potentially causing suffering to a creature, maybe they're willing to do that with animals. Maybe someone like Vegapunk is willing to do that on animals, or there's a way to make it a little bit less bad or something.
Yeah, or the cost is too great to not do it type thing.
And maybe, because I was thinking like, okay, you're trying to create giants. And you know how to create an artificial devil fruit. If you could, say, capture an Elbaf warrior or capture little Ors Jr., obviously not anymore because he's dead. But, if you could, like, I guess, like, how do you, because could you make a giant fruit artificially and then I
mean, there's a human fruit.
Yeah,
so I don't see why not, which is kind of fucked up.
And it's just weird to be, like, creating giants when, like, giants exist.
That's what I mean. Like there must be like there's things like ores, and ores is like clearly not just a human who's grown too big, like the kids were.
And there's like the Elbaf warriors, which are also like they're giants, but in a different way than Ors was a giant. Like they look
they're different. But then maybe Elbaf is just this ancient race of people who were genetically modified by a previous Vegapunk or something like that. Like not that it's the same thing, but like maybe there's another person who tapped into these secrets. Like the ores thing seems like it's something different than Elbaf warriors, like you say. But the Elbaf warriors are more like just big people. But are the Elbaf warriors big people, or are there three different things where there's like giants? Because there's also Saul, who was from Robin's backstory, who was a giant.
Yeah.
And he kind of had more of a Ors look about him in the face. I don't know if that was on purpose, but like his jaw and everything. Maybe there's some genetic mixing, we don't know. But there's three different kind of types. There's obviously the kids who are man-made giants. There's Ors, which is probably a different kind of giant. Like that, there's three of them, I guess. And then there's, like, Elbaf warrior-like giants, like Saul, like the Elbaf warriors, like the two guys at Ennie's lobby. Are they all just different variations of the same thing that were man-made, just genetically messed with? Was there, what I think might be the case is that there's the Ors ones, and then either, it was just a couple, or it was maybe like a devil fruit kind of fuckery or something that like made them genetically different. I don't know. I don't know.
Because I'm pretty sure in the show they said that there has not been successful like creations of giants.
Yeah.
Thus far, so it's like, yeah, like it's a, I don't know. It's just interesting.
I don't know.
It's interesting. I don't quite know what to make about it.
Yeah. Well, because Vegapunk, was unwilling to do what Caesar was willing to do.
And like what Caesar was doing was like also not necessarily even effective, other than just like as an experiment.
Yeah, because they were just gonna die.
He knew that it wasn't gonna actually work.
Yeah, it was like progress. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think...
and it's like, if you just wanted...
I think there are at least two different things.
Yeah. And I guess it's also, like, it's interesting, this, like, sort of, like, the race to, like, make artificial, or, like, you know, like, a giant. But it's like, if you just wanted, like, an army of giants, and you were willing to, like, you know, violate ethics and morals... Why don't you just head on over to Elbaf and, like, kidnap their children and raise them?
Because the Elbaf warriors are no fucking joke. That's why.
That's true. But you know what I'm saying? Like, looking into other, types of ways. And, because also there's, like, people that we've seen that are not giants, like some of the Frankie family even, that are just, like, huge guys.
Yeah, or like Kuma.
Inexplicably. Yeah.
Kuma before, all being turned into pacifista. Mm-hmm. Or even Doflamingo, he's super tall. Or Kizaru is, like, randomly super tall. He's, like, 20 feet tall. Yeah. Not that tall. He's maybe, like, 15 feet tall. Like, he towers over people.
Yeah. So I guess it's just interesting, this, like...
Where's the line?
Kind of fixation of these scientists to create a giant when there are, like, already... It's not like... and also, it makes me wonder if Vegapunk did create a dragon... before he created dragon artificial devil fruits. Like, if you needed, like, say he, like, genetically modified either, like, dinosaurs or, like, something like that. Like,
yeah.
Like, I wonder if he, like, because you need maybe the baseline first. So it's I guess, it's just interesting, like, if in the theory that he had to make a dragon, first of all, to be able to make more of them, I could understand, like, we need to make a giant so that we could maybe make more of them. But there are already giants in the world, so, like, what... I guess I'm interested of, like, the purpose, whether it's just, like, something, like, to reach for scientifically, or whether there's a purpose for it that they need.
There must be a purpose for it. I don't know what... I mean...
Like, if there's something in the Void Century that, like, the giants played a really big part, so now they want more of them.
Yeah. I mean, it's fucking Attack on Titan. It's like Attack on Titan bit Oda's whole flow. Mm-hmm. Literally.
I feel like that, like, we could maybe talk for more about, like, scientific stuff, but,
so
like,
long.
I feel like we got... And we'll obviously continue
I could talk for hours.
In, like, episode discussions whenever anything new kind of comes up.
Yeah, I could go on for hours about this just in circles, because it's never ending.
Yeah. 100 Rainy asked, how do you feel about Smoker losing all of his battles in this arc? He lost to nearly every major adversary on the island. Many fans always saw him as the established marine rival for Luffy. Do you think this is still the case?
No.
And what are some ways you feel he can improve in the future?
I think he's going to have a similar arc to Aokiji. He's going to follow in his footsteps. Similar thing, because he's already been on that path. I think that the role... I mean, we talked about this. It's the exact same thing. When they went from East Blue to Grand Line, and then went from Grand Line to New World. First one, East Blue to Grand Line, you had Smoker as, like, the gatekeeper. And then when we went from Grand Line to the New World, we had Sentomaru. So I think Sentomaru is going to be more that guy. If we see him again. And he'll kind of replace Smoker's role in this way. Smoker is going to do some self-discovery. He's going to go deeper into the corruption, hopefully, of the Navy. And now that he keeps getting promoted. Maybe what I would love to see for Smoker is for him to be constantly disillusioned and then constantly getting rewarded for it, to keep his silence, basically, and to keep his... keep him close, kind of thing. He gets up to the 5 Elder Stars. Maybe he becomes the next Admiral after a training arc or something like that, because he has a Logia. It would be actually pretty sick. And then they tell him some shit that completely changes his outlook. Like he is so disillusioned with what the Navy is willing to do. And obviously the Five Elder Stars are like an easy thing. These just old guys who are at the top who are just causing all this suffering. We heard their voices over the intercom when Robin's village was getting destroyed. You know, they but they're like, there has to be another side to this. Like, you don't capture every pregnant woman in an entire continent and kill families to prevent the reincarnation potentially of Roger or the passing on of his blood.
Yeah.
You know, you don't do that just because you're a bad guy. You know, like, there are people that are in One Piece that are just bad guys. But the Five Elder Stars, to me, don't strike that balance. So where am I going with this? I forget where I was going with this, but it made sense when I started. Who are we even talking about? Smoker. I feel like it would be interesting to see Smoker. We're on his side. He's so cool. He's, you know, he's telling it like it is. And then he gets to the top and we see him again and he's more powerful. But there's a change in him, maybe. And that, like, but then we have to ask ourselves, like, okay, well, Smoker is like the coolest guy ever. We know he's the coolest guy ever. He fought the power, he lost, and then continued fighting and continued trying to strive for good. And now he's like a company man for the Navy. Like, what is this about? Like, that doesn't make any sense. I think that kind of, in a way, like a heel turn, because we already know and we love him so much, it would be a really interesting thing to go. I could see that direction being taken. As far as what do I feel about him losing the fights, I actually love it. I so much. I like it
because, here's the thing, because he was built up as such a strong adversary for Luffy in the beginning, it is such a great way to show how far we've come, and also how to show that the opponents are very, very strong without making the Straw Hats look weak.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And he still didn't lose any of his character. Yes. Like, there was no character assassination. He just stayed mostly the same, got better, he learned hockey. Like, he did improve. But it's not enough. And that's more interesting.
And what's interesting is, like, kind of what he's on right now is kind of, like, Luffy, right before and, like, during Marineford, of just getting stunted on at every opportunity. And, like, nothing Smoker does kind of really works out. Or if it does work out, it's, like, with help from other people that are stronger than him. So he's going to be forced to either, like, lock in or, like, give up. And I feel like he's not going to give up. Yeah. So, you know, this is, like, I feel like the pressure that he's going to need to make some type of a change within his life.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. I love Smoker still. He's still one of my favorite characters. Tashigi is my wife.
Erica asked, now that you've gotten a taste of what his true character is like, what do we think of Dofi? And then he's always been my favorite purely because of how much fun Oda clearly had writing him. He has such a personality. He's not just the stereotypical haughty, one-dimensional villain in Luffy's Path number 365. He's a goofy-looking guy with a goofy outfit. I'm from South Florida, so I call it the Miami Tourist Corps. And a goofy laugh, goofy sunglasses, and he likes to party and clearly doesn't take things too seriously until he's pushed, while also being secretly underhanded and bloodthirsty psychopath. I think that's hilarious. I also really like the added subversion of making him, at least on some level, care about his closest crewmates. I feel like that, like, yeah, you described him very perfectly.
Thank you for giving our response for us.
But I feel like because, like, the long response to that, it's like, that's what makes him so great. Yeah. He's well-rounded villain. And when we talked about it a little bit in one of the episodes, it's like, when Doflamingo was first kind of getting hyped up, I was skeptical. I was like, is this just going to be another guy with an interesting laugh that fucking thinks that he's so slick? And I'm going to think that he's not that slick, you know, or he's going to be slick for like 1 second and then he's just going to be kind of lame. But I think with him, the added dimensions of him caring about his crew, of him being scared when Law puts him in a tough position and he doesn't laugh. And there's the moment where it's like, you think that he's going to, like, you know, that he's going to remain cool, but he's not. He's freaking out when he gets hung up on. He's like, oh shit, like, he gets stressed out, but then after he works it out and makes the deal with Law, then he kind of, like, comes back into his own personality, and he's there with the, like, different, like, the chair, like, the different suits, like, all in their little, like, throne things.
Yeah.
And he has the devil fruit, and he has a plan, and he starts cooking, so it's like, he's not completely thrown off, but it's like we've seen now that if he gets put into a corner, he might lose it. He's like a feral animal, you know. It's like he thinks that he's so cool, but like, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, and he, like, what you mentioned of him with his, like, chairs or his, like, seconds or whatever, the different houses or different suits. I love that the guys with him there had their quirks. Mm-hmm. And so listen, there's Muzan from Demon Slayer, and there's people like Dio from JoJo, or Frieza from Dragon Ball, like not Dragon Ball Super, but like Dragon Ball Z Frieza. These villains that are like the supreme leader, they're uncompromising, they have like a sense of humor, but it's always at everybody else's expense. And they do not take the quirks of other people, for anything. They if you laugh at the wrong time when you're around Muzan, for example, it'll literally just kill you.
Yeah.
Like that has its place. And with Dio, for example, he has a lot of aura and he's very charismatic like that. I feel like there's maybe some similarities to be spoken about between Doflamingo and Dio. But with Doflamingo, when he's around his buddies and they're all being crazy.
Yeah, like Baby 5 is like whipping around, like attacking
And we
him.
think like, oh, is this person like getting revenge? No, they're just being like this. And he's totally chill about it.
Yeah.
That adds so much. Like the fact, and the guy who's like forgetting things and he's like, they keep going in circle. Or, he's what he's doing is I need you to do this. No, I'm not good enough to do this. No, I really need you. Like and then he keeps refusing until he keeps insisting.
Yeah. Oh, if you insist, kind of.
Like
guy.
The fact that he goes, like another guy who is this archetype I would expect them to just be like, all right, die then. Like, but it shows how actually smart he is and that he has some kind of a heart because he is willing to humor people, and it's not a exchange. It's not like now you owe me one because I had to deal with your bullshit. He is talking with these people. They have quirks about them, and he, in a weird way, maybe it's just a voice acting, but he kind of like values that, or he gets a kick out of the people like doing their weird
like
shit.
That's part
and that's
of what
so
makes
endearing.
Them part of his crew.
Yes,
is them not just
nakama.
Being
henchmen.
A completely obedient henchman. Like I feel like that would be boring to him.
I feel like it's multi-layered, I imagine, because he probably knows that, the people who are really strong have weird things about them or are strange, but also maybe he's just really attached to them. And it's, it's not this super utilitarian look at relationships and stuff. But it's maybe both. And he's so interesting. And the more we get, the more I am more interested, like every time. And it's really hard to do. Not just, it's something that, Oda has varying levels of success with. He has varying levels of goals with, more like he doesn't want to make every character like Doflamingo, and that's what makes Doflamingo stand out. Yeah. Because now he's making that character and it's landing every time. And because I feel and yeah, like I said, there's this archetype plays out in different stories, and it often feels way too overdone, way too serious. And the fact that Doflamingo can have it both ways. He can be serious and he can be comical, and he can be silly. It just fits. It not only fits One Piece, but it fits in a way that doesn't turn him into a gag. And I'm also not afraid of him turning into a gag, at least not in a big way. Like he feels like what I kind of wanted Enel to be. You know what I mean? Like they kind of similar, a little bit of a similar vibe, but Enel didn't seemingly value his underlings. Like Enel was not even at all. Much more one-dimensional feeling than Doflamingo. And again, not every character needs to be that. So, but I'm talking about myself and what I got from the character, what I wanted from the character. This is what I love in a villain, is all I'm saying.
What I think also makes me really excited for Doflamingo is what we talked about earlier in the discussion, that the villains in this arc were very elite. Even the side villains and the henchmen type guys, like even Brownbeard, who I was like, there's no way that you can make me like this guy, became somewhat of a redeemable guy. He cared about his crew, and he worked hard to protect them. Just the way that everything was handled makes me extra excited for Doflamingo, because it's not just like, oh, there was a bunch of mediocre villains, and now there's one really good one. Yeah. It's like we're on a string of interesting villains that I have liked from the moment they were introduced until the moment they either retired or died or are just still in the story at this point. I still
it's like Oda's cooking, and it's not just a fluke. It's like he is adapting his style for the story, and it's like everything's just like, oh my god, that worked. Oh my god, I just realized we went through that whole thing and I had no complaints. It's like every character that gets introduced these days is so good. There's been so many times where there's like a character and I really like them at the start, and then I don't really like them at the end of their arc. You kind of get exhausted by them a little bit. Or I, like, don't really like them at the start, but, like, maybe they surprise me and I like them at the end. Or, you know, they're just kind of whatever the whole time. Like, there's been so many moments like that. Yeah. But to have, like, an entire arc, and, like, you know, people can disagree, these are just our opinions, but to have an entire arc where I liked all of the villains, I liked all of the characters, like, you know, there was moments where it's like, okay, some of the Marines are, like, being shitty for no reason, like, after they just got told, but it's like, that was clearly, like, a pacing, there were some pacing issues. I'll just say it quickly, I don't think the pacing was bad at all. I think this is one of the better paced One Piece arcs, in my opinion, but just the way that everything was handled makes me 10 times more excited to go forward, just because everything was so good that I'm like, I feel like he's One Piece, and we've said it a million times, it's like it just keeps getting better, and it's like you can see the evolution of the writing and of the way that things are being developed and the way that they're able to come together, and where Oda's like his idea versus his execution, I feel like is coming a lot more in line. Where we talked about early on, there was a lot of like almost like you could see like his first draft of something, and then we see the refined version a little bit later, and we're like, oh, I see elements of this and that. And this arc felt like it took elements from a lot of things. It felt like it took a lot of elements from Thriller Bark, one of our other favorite arcs. Yeah. But it was a more refined version, but it wasn't just a complete rehash of Thriller Bark. It was different and new and added in a lot of these like broader story elements. And, you know, even the Wano incorporation was similar to Thriller Bark. Like, there was a lot that was similar, and I do, in a way, kind of view it as how we talked about early on, like, almost like a, you know, a revisiting of... A sharpening of the same format, But this felt like one of the most, like, complete... Yeah, it really did. It felt... It was so good. It was so good. It was just a great arc. It was so good, and I'm not falling for it anymore, by the way. Everyone keeps saying, oh, next arc is so bad. Next arc is the fucking worst. Everybody has been saying that to us, Patreon or not, for all of One Piece. It's not true, and you're not. I know most of you are just gaslighting us so that we like it more, and it's working, because this arc was, like, incredible. Yeah. It was incredible, and I'm not falling for it anymore. I do feel like everyone keeps saying Dressrosa is going to be terrible. Everybody keeps saying that. I've heard that since we started. Like, Dressrosa, or maybe it wasn't. No, I think it was. Like, I was thinking back, and I was like, I try not to pay attention to arc names, but it's like a thing that is all often written. Dressrosa being, like, the worst One Piece arc in terms of adaptation, but also what people said in the comments, like, leading up to us doing this podcast, was that it's a lot of people who watched it weekly. Yeah, that's a huge part of it, and that's because people said the same thing during the Chimera Ant arc, which is peak in my opinion. I know it wasn't your favorite, but like, and for like all of Naruto, or every Naruto arc, it's the same conversation. But it's because when you watch, I was watching Naruto weekly, towards the end of Shippuden. And it was like, yeah, this is the war arc's terrible. But going back and watching it now, it's like, it's not nearly as bad. There's just only so much that can fit into one episode. Yeah. Yeah, but anyway, and for pacing stuff, I'm not listening to it anymore. I loved this arc. And everyone said that it was like bottom 5 worst arcs. I don't believe that. I don't get it, and maybe that's just because... I think it was literally just because people watched it while it was airing, and they have it's like an opinion. I know, like, I think I've seen some people say that they didn't like the, like, Chopper tending to the children arc and like that, and I'm just like, but why? It did slow down there, but it wasn't that
But
bad.
I don't think it was, like, the plot of that was responsible for slowing it down. I think that was just part of what got elongated for the adaptation.
I mean, there was the episode where the whole episode was the gate closing. Like, or 2 or 3 maybe at one point.
I'm not saying that there was no pacing issues.
It wasn't perfect. It was definitely, like, but it's, as far as One Piece is concerned, it was pretty well in line with what most One Piece arcs have put us through.
There has always been 1 or 2 parts, but for this arc, even though I noticed when it was slowing down, I never got to the point where I was unengaged in what was happening.
Right.
I never got to the point where it was like, okay, like, sometimes I got to the point like, okay, I see what you're doing here, but it was never like, okay, I feel myself checking out a little bit because of it, you know, like, I and when I thinking about it, and, like, there's other arcs when I think back to, like, something like, I don't even know, but, like, other arcs where I think back to it and I'm like, oh, I really liked this, but I remember when I was watching it, the moment to moment sometimes was a little bit of a slog. But this one, I'm like, even though I rationally know that there were some moments that were slower than others, when I look back even so recently at the arc, my excitement for what happened so outweighed any pacing that it's like it's not even comparable. Whereas other arcs, I feel like, you know, the pacing brings down my enjoyment a little bit, the excitement brings it up a little bit, it kind of like evens out. This one, it like blew it out of the water.
100%. Absolutely.
And it's just, it's so good, like, it's so good and so good on every level. And maybe this is some people's less favorites because maybe it's not old enough to be nostalgic like earlier arcs, but things that happen right after this or going forward are more hype or more intrigue, and like this is clearly building for some of the stuff that is coming next.
Yeah.
So I think that there is, like, you know, definitely maybe reasons, but for me, I loved it. It was so good.
So great. Do you want to end it there?
I think we could. I think
we can comfortably end it there. That was great arc. 10 out of 10. Not a 10 out of 10. It wasn't a 10 out of 10. It was not a 10 out of 10. Like, that's not fair. But as like One Piece experience,
I had a great time watching this arc.
Yeah, it was like it was definitely up there. Like we're still on that streak. I feel like where like every arc, I'm enjoying more than the previous one, which makes me really hyped up for this next one. Like,
and I'm excited. I'm really excited.
Yeah. Fuck yeah. Leave a like on the video for Punk Hazard. See you next one, Carson.
I'm Lindsay.
Bye-bye.